The Stack. People, Business, Technology. With Dan Tomaszewski of Everything MSP.
Hello, everybody. Dan Tomaszewski here with Everything MSP. Welcome to another episode of The Stack, where we focus on people, business, and technology. And I am here with the rock star, with you, man.
Oh, man, it's great to see you.
Mr. Matt Lee.
Yeah, brother.
With PAX 8. It's great to have him here, and we are here in sunny Orlando. And it is definitely warm here.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely different than back home in Michigan.
Yeah, sweat doesn't evaporate.
Right. Exactly. And what's there not to talk about, in our industry, right? I mean, there's so much going on. Things are changing constantly. There's this new AI thing.
I've never heard of it. No, I mean, it's only 56 Talks had it in its title today.
Yes, exactly.
This conference.
Yeah, every conference, used to always have some theme, and then all of a sudden, this cybersecurity thing kind of jumped in.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the theme
2019 till now, right? That's kind of the big beginning of that. So in fact, this is the first time I was talking about this with John Harden. This is the first time where I think the conference balance has shifted completely from the cybersecurity aspect to everything has to be in the lens of AI.
Yes.
And then some cybersecurity, right? Sprinkled in. And before you and I got together, we were talking about how those two are really related. Yeah, 100%, right? In the sense that AI and the desire for AI for companies is forcing MSPs to say, hey, we need to deal with all these other basics. Like, you need to know what data you have, how your process flows. Like, and I love that you say people, business, right, and technology. Because if it wasn't for business, that the making a profit by taking a risk, then we wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm glad you say it that way.
And the thing is, when we take a look at this whole movement of AI, and we are, what is weird is it feels like it's so brand new, but it feels also so old in the same sense. It is moving in such rapid speed at a level that I don't think we've seen before. Remember when, the cloud, right? Yeah. Number one, it was a confusing term. Everybody was confused. Clients were confused. But then there was the whole, so what is this thing? And, and then we started introducing it.
Slow adoption curve, right? Yeah. Time had to wait on a server to expire.
Right.
But to your point, like with AI, if you miss 7 months of change, you've missed 10 years. Right. To your point, it feels really old. And to put it in perspective, I wasn't doing or practicing cybersecurity or technology in 1981 when the TCP protocol was written as an RFC. But that's the beginning we're in right now. There are protocols being written for AI that are brand new, that you're at the ground floor of if you've been in this last 2 or 3 years of time.
And it makes it one of the most exciting times in our industry.
Oh, 100%.
It's just,
I'm happy to be alive during this.
Awesome. And, so for anybody that missed out on the .com days,
fair little reference there.
Yes. This is the new .com, but so much different.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Different in many ways.
Well, a lot of ways. Like, think about it this way. We, as technologists, have promised for years that we're going to make your business better. We're going to be proactive in business discussions. But in reality, what does the AI drive right now? A lot of it is FTE replacement or augmentation, right? Full-time employee replacement or augmentation, or business process automation, right? Actually going back in and saying, okay, well, how does Dan do this? And then how's that document to go to her? And then how's that next thing? Can we maybe automate this and now add in some agents to help? Yeah. But in reality, a lot of this front-end surface area would have already been valuable if invested in over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Absolutely.
We just haven't seen MSPs go that deep in the business.
Yeah. And we talk about scripting, in those days, right?
Right.
We talk about how as MSPs, we're going to use these scripts to make things better. We're going to self-heal things.
Yeah, the RMM, right? The intro, the RMM. We'll keep your pooter running the best.
Right. So I don't want to say any of that's laughable.
It was necessary for the time to get to that point. Like, we had to get to where technology is ubiquitous, is standardized, and the cloud helped a lot of that, right? Think about that, what you had to do to build an Exchange server. I had to spin out 2 different volumes. One needed to be at least RAID 10 with fast enough storage so it could do the log server, and then now it's like a $20 license, and now I have email, right? And you just turn it on. And so the cloud did a lot for getting that to where it was there, but that also meant it commoditized the hell out of what we were doing. if I buy a Microsoft tenant and I set it up the same way, it'll be the same for every single client.
100%.
The same problems will exist. They'll be fixed systemically. And so you have this like kind of rapid commoditization of what we were adding as value, that white glove service, making the server work every day, like all that magic. Now is really not something we do.
Right.
The pivot would have had to have happened in 2016, 17, in my opinion, to very deep business processes. But thank God, threat actors started kicking doors in.
Yeah.
And now you had this security impetus that helped backfill a lot of that commoditization. Right now, it's security. But we're now at this point where I think we have to pay the piper. We now have to get better at making that company better than that company with the same skates, puck, hockey players, stick, all the same things. How do they win? Better coaching. Okay. Better understanding the game. Like that's what we have to pivot to, in my opinion.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the cybersecurity side of it, because AI is driving cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is driving AI. It's that synergistic aspect of it. So we are going to see, cybersecurity won't be going away from these conversations.
No, they'll bring new ones.
Right. Entirely new ones. And so where do you see for MSPs their cybersecurity practice changing because of AI?
That's a great question. I would say, in the very least, I don't think AI has fundamentally changed security. I think AI is going to be gasoline on a pile of sticks for security, right? So I think one of the things that's already been in the works is MSPs have to get better at protecting themselves. That's a freebie. Like they should be doing the things themselves. But I think it's going to highlight the basics. And it's going to highlight the basics and fund revenue to hopefully drive some of those basics.
Okay.
I genuinely believe that MSPs were already on a path the last 3 or 4 years to follow standards, fix their own stuff, put on their own oxygen mask before they help somebody else, right? You've seen that. But now, I think the fundamental answer to your question is security has to be baked into everything we're doing.
Right.
We have to think about the risk-based decisions we're making, make those decisions for the company, and be involved in that to bring them to where they have made their okay risk profile. I really think that MSPs are going to have to talk way more about risk and way more about business and not as much about security. I don't think that's the topic. But to your other point of this is that I think as AI continues to move, what is AI the best at right now? Augmenting my capabilities.
Right.
Well, if I'm a threat actor, I can now research you better.
Right.
I can now have things that I can accelerate my FTE capabilities as a threat actor.
Right.
And you should see that coming as attacks, right? I think that's what's going to happen. You're going to see more of these broader but more dedicated and targeted spear phishing, things of that nature is what we're going to see. I don't buy into the AI-driven malware today. I can't really say I've seen any of that really exist, other than a couple of fringe weird cases. But I do think that AI will make me better at researching my victims. It'll make me better at attacking my victims. It'll make me more scalable down to the SMB from how much I can do. And so MSPs will have to start finding ways to respond to that. But it's mostly a business discussion, right? I think MSPs need to get better at refining their processes, automating their processes, having SOPs, all of those things. I think that's what AI is going to drive because of the security implications.
Right.
But I also think it's the solution too in a lot of cases. You can now automate a lot of things you couldn't have. Agentic flows will become part of our world to triage, to find things that we want that we missed, or look at tickets as they're wrapped up for security problems. There's all kinds of things that I think will be invented towards those things from AI. I've already seen a lot of those products come to market, right?
So when we're having conversations with business leaders in the SMB world, and we're talking about AI and we're talking about business outcome, and how that business outcome is going to help them be more efficient, more productive, more secure, deliver a better client experience, and more profitable. So we have checked the boxes to capture their attention, those business leaders' attention, in a way that in the past we should have been having.
Agreed.
But this is real. There are real things that all of a sudden the light bulb's going to go off, and you guys have your MIP playbook that is amazing. And if you haven't read the playbook, you need to read it, because the value, I don't have the stat, but one of the stats was talking about, if you were to deploy an AI or agentic agent, and it might cost $10,000 for that agent,
right?
The value that it provides is just incredible.
100%.
So they're going to be all over that. Is that going to lead into and allow them to be more realistic and more, more engaged in risk conversations then? Because then they see, okay, if all of this can help me,
Yeah.
all this can also hurt me.
It's an opportunity for it.
Okay.
Right? And anytime you have this massive demand and fervor to try to get some value out of it, it's time for a conversation. Right. So I think that they'll be more attuned to have those conversations. I think MSPs, because of the last 5 or 6 years of our life, are significantly more aware of the risk of security.
Yeah.
I did a talk today and I asked how many of you have been involved in a ransomware of one of your clients or yourself?
Yeah.
Every hand
Went up.
So you have this shared awareness, shared knowledge in that way. And I do think as you're going into these flows, I think talking about business risk as a general term, the risk of this automation. What's the risk if somebody manipulated this automation? What's the risk if this automation was to go bad? Or like what are those things? It's more than just cyber risk, but it's risk in general.
Yeah.
And the challenge is, and I love this, a female CEO told me this once. She said, Matt, the problem you and I have, right? Security guy to a CEO.
Yeah.
Is that my job as a CEO is to take risks and be rewarded for them. That is capitalism. I took a risk of putting my money in to do this to make a reward. So when you come to me about risk and risk avoidance, my job's to take risks.
Yeah.
You're giving me the wrong data. You should be speaking about which risks should I take? Which things should I lean into? What are those that I should care about? And so I think that's my point, is that we would pivot this risk conversation to what risk should I take?
So
what risk shouldn't I?
So all this time we're afraid about the risk conversation.
Yeah.
They're loving it because that's in their wheelhouse.
Yes, it's in the executive's wheelhouse is risk.
Yes.
What they are trying to do, in my opinion, and in her opinion, is make good risk decisions.
Right.
And not take losing bets.
Yes.
So it is one of those things where if we were to reframe that conversation of, here's this awesome thing we can gain, 4 FTEs at $100,000 a year burden, that's $400,000 for $10,000. Back to your point.
Yeah.
However, if a threat actor abuses that and we don't put these protections in place, it's going to cost you millions of dollars because this will be destroyed.
Right.
Way worse than humans could be tricked into doing something that same way. So you have this balance, and that's why I say it's an opportunity. If framed correctly, you can give someone a very large reward potential and explain risk and take some mitigating circumstances so that everybody wins.
Yeah.
So I really think that AI and business transformation in general coming together are going to drive a lot of these conversations.
So there's always been in our business the good cop, bad cop conversation.
Kinda,
when it comes to security, we kind of leverage regulation, cybersecurity insurance.
The stick, not the carrot. Right.
Yeah. But what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing based on that conversation with that CEO is that we are able to leverage 2 things in our worlds that we can control. Cybersecurity and AI, and use those as good cop, bad cop, without having to rely on cybersecurity insurance or regulation. I mean, those still obviously are involved in it, but we're talking about something of helping them, which could go south if the cybersecurity components aren't there.
Think about a business transaction in which you're buying a company.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to buy another company.
Yeah.
You have a reward of whatever their revenue is, profitability, what that does to my EBITDA multiplier, what that does to my overall operational capacitance and scale.
Yeah.
But you have the risk of, what if that company sucks? What if their revenue is lying? What if they're actually, and so what do? You put in protections to take that risk, or you don't take that risk. And that's all I'm asking MSPs to get into this mindset of, is shift to, this is that transaction we're wanting to do.
Yep.
Here's all the benefits you're going to get. Here's what could go south. How do we talk about these in a way we're all comfortable? Right? And I think that's that transition of, an executive can get behind that when it comes to an acquisition. They understand. They're like, it could be a lie on their revenue. Let's go check it. There could not be great answers here. Let's do due diligence. We have maybe contractual obligations or insurance protections or things that can help mitigate that. We need to start speaking about it in that way.
I love it.
Right? And I think AI is the right answer, and it's big enough that you can make such a change that you have that ability to talk about some of those other things with it.
That's awesome. Matt, awesome conversation.
Always, man.
Always great to have you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
For everybody out there listening, thank you so much for being here. Until next time, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to The Stack.